It's a good morning right here on this Sunday, and the sixth sense of busting out here. We are the BrunchBusters. I am Bobby Munson, and right beside me, you see him, the man right there who made that wonderful, amazing intro that you see at the top of the hour. That is Chris Parrish. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I also just pointed out just to show you that I don't get messed up on this.
Perfect. And before we go over to our good friend Ed, why don't we give a good shout out to our affiliate, our sponsor at the top of the hour here. We're talking about Rogue Energy. We got a Rogue affiliate down there, you see, and a QR code on the other side of the screen. You could also check it out down below and use that promo code OLE Pods if you're looking for an alternative to the energy drinks you find in the store, something that you can have that's sugar-free, that's low-calorie, also vegan-friendly. Then Rogue Energy is where you want to be. These guys will help you give the clarity and mindfulness that you need to stay up all night, either watching your favorite streams or be a part of your favorite streams. Rogue Energy will take care of you. And yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just going to add, like our own Mel Ball Collins ordered there recently, and just absolutely blown away with the taste. Like the sour candy one, she said tastes just like Sour Patch Kids, and the blood orange tastes like just like opening up like an orange, and like having that. So the flavor of these are just amazing. So yeah, don't waste any time. Go Rogue now.
Wonderful review. Yeah, definitely go Rogue now. But now it's time to say good morning to some friends like Astrid. Good morning, Astrid. And also, of course, Ed, we said we'd come back to his comment there. My brunch busting brothers are back, but do they see dead people? And yes, it's the sixth sense. And you know what? We do see dead people. You don't perish. We're going to see them talked about, at least in a high capacity, as OLE makes their debut tomorrow. Our local establishment. Make sure to check us out on Twitch, on all the social media, YouTube as well. Follow, subscribe, all that nice stuff. Paramindful, the debut show coming out from OLE Podcasts as of tomorrow. So big hype for that. If you love things that go bump in the night, anything spooky or about the paranormal, then Paramindful is the place you want to be tomorrow night.
Couldn't help but notice they say bump in the night, and I always think of Ghostbusters. And if people haven't seen, yeah, we totally are Ghostbusters inspired on this show, mixed with a little bit of a sports center, if you want. But yeah, no, it's fun times, and we just want to take this time already to thank everyone who has decided to get a little spooky-ish, if you want to say. But no, but just taking the time to support us so far. We can't wait to get started tomorrow with our local establishment on the OLE Pods. Please, if you haven't, please give the Twitter, the Facebook, the Twitch all a follow, subscription, because we want to do as much as we can to help everyone out there. And yeah, the closer we can get to Twitch affiliate, maybe Twitch partner, all that good stuff, we can start making that money, and we can start producing better shows for everyone, because that's exactly what we want to do. But yeah, please go check out every show that we're affiliated with, because they do a lot of great things.
And you know, Parrish, outside of OLE podcasts and the shows that you're going to be able to see, and we're going to talk about those later in the show here today, we'll put a spell on you. I love that. That's a good slogan. But outside of that, OLE podcast is also about just, helping out all the people that are part of our local establishment. That's why it was created. And whether or not the shows are directly on OLE Pods or are done by somebody that works with OLE Pods and is on another channel, we're here to support that as well too. And I believe we got a couple of shout outs that we can give to some of our friends for stuff that you won't find on OLE Pods, but you'll be able to find from some of the great contributors here. I think we got a graphic for that. Something cool.
I believe it's this one.
That one there. There we go. It's the Rumble on 44th Street sidecast. You're going to be able to follow along over at twitch.tv/Andre and Melball Friday, October the 28th, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So definitely check that out. It's going to be an awesome time over there with that fantastic watch along and being able to just get in on the conversation when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling, coming from some of the absolute best, most knowledgeable people when it comes to New Japan Pro Wrestling content that is out there. So looking forward to that one. Also on Thursday nights, of course, you could also check out Making an Impact with Astrid and Cody. They've been killing it on that show on a weekly basis, and it's really great to tune in on a Thursday night and be able to catch up on all things Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, I know I don't always get to watch Impact Wrestling where I'm at, but it's always a great little review, and it's a great little reminder of me of what's going on. So I definitely appreciate it. So yeah, they do a lot of good things over there, and it's a good show. So make sure you're checking that out because they're good people. It's a great show. So why not? It's like butter and jelly for streaming. It just makes sense, people.
That's right. And so any other shows we haven't mentioned, we're going to talk about them later because you're going to be able to find them on our local establishment, OLE Podcasts, this coming week. So stay tuned for that. We are going to be able to provide that for you later in the hour and a half, whichever we decide to go. Because guess what? It's time to go off the rails because it's busting out time, Parrish.
I got to make a graphic where it's just a train just completely going rogue, pun intended, by the way.
Yeah, I like it. Too bad we could get right along the bottom of the screen from the Rogue affiliate crashing right into the QR code on the
It'd
side.
be great if I knew how to be good at things like that.
We're just not that clever yet.
yeah, I'm almost as amateur as you can get when it comes to it. But with that being said, Bobby.
Oh, hold on.
It's time to talk about some wrestling.
Oh, we talk about wrestling on this show?
Apparently, I think that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah. So fill me in. What happened this week?
Oh man, we got a lot of good things happening on this week. We had a Halloween Havoc last night, but I mean, if you want to hear a little bit more about Halloween Havoc, make sure you're checking out Taking Over this Tuesday night on It won't be the first OLE show, but it'll be, I believe, one of the early ones. It'll be the first Taking Over on the OLE platform, so go check that out. But yeah, we had a nice little pay-per-view last night. Obviously, myself with Astrid will be doing that. But yeah, I just want to talk about, because we were talking about it a little bit off air, but just the use of gimmick matches nowadays, and how it seemed like there was a lot of gimmick matches on that show. It seems like we're getting a lot more gimmick matches just in wrestling as general. What to you would make a good gimmick match, and what makes sense in that gimmick match? Because I know I don't mind the occasional one, but lately it just seems there's been a lot lately.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that's what happens when we get these cards that are full of them, whether or not every match is a gimmick match or most of the card is a gimmick match. It tends to get a little redundant and blends together, especially for me. I know a lot of people out there love them and stuff like that. They could watch hardcore match after hardcore match and anything like that. If that's your niche, that's cool. I'm not crapping on people's likes here or anything like that. For me personally, it starts to blend a little together, and I like something that breaks up the monotony of it and everything like that. Like a good solid wrestling match in between somewhere tends to really help me out. At this point, I start to believe, at least in the modern era, that a pure one-on-one wrestling match is more of a gimmick match nowadays than what the standard gimmick match is, because you don't see it as often. And the gimmick match used to be something that was the surprise. It was something to end a feud or bring a feud to a close. And now it's used so often that I'm starting to think a pure one-on-one matchup is the only way to close out a feud these days.
Yeah, I'm finding, and just on my side, sometimes I don't find the story to be so much warranted to this gimmick match lately as more. And we really were spoiled with the likes of, the Bret Harts, the Owen Harts, maybe even the Lance Storms of the eras. And I know there's going to be more, but to where, they settled their main feuds with wrestling. And there's a lot more tradition back then when it came to storytelling. And now it seems like, oh, well, we hate each other. We're going to fight, and they can't keep us apart. So what you got to do is put us in a steel cage or a hell in a cell and something like that. And then my thing is, it just takes away the specialness of these things when you do it so much. I don't know, and this is coming from someone that's never been in a steel cage. I badly want to do a steel cage match, so I will find whatever reason I can just to get one in. That's what she said. But with that, kind of going back to track here, I would definitely much more appreciate that cage match if there's a big story behind it, things like that. Not saying I want to do one, just because I haven't done one. And I think that's kind of becoming a trend on social media of just handing out these things without the story being told properly. I go back kind of just recently with Sheamus and Gunther of how many people were just trying to make a narrative of why it makes sense to give Sheamus the Intercontinental title right now because he needs to be a Grand Slam. And I'm like, pump your brakes. I'd much more appreciate it if he was the right person for the story to take the title off Gunther. But right now, like, I just don't see the reason why you would even make a switch. So it's kind of in that same boat where I think a lot of people now tend just to make the narrative because they just want to see it instead of making it mean something.
Yeah, and that's where a problem lies too, because I mean it's quick to be like, oh, it'd be great to see Sheamus as a Grand Slam champion, like you say, but is it? It doesn't matter that much to Sheamus at the same time. Yeah, it's a cool thing to be able to say, but so many people can say it now that it's also, in a sense, doesn't carry the same legitimacy as it once did, and you're just handing these things out to just about anybody. I mean, Sheamus is how many time former world champion? Like, he doesn't need the Intercontinental title to prove anything at this point. And this far along in his career, I think more than anything, he's done a phenomenal job at making Gunther look like the next big star in the company. He has not only elevated himself in a great sense that you can put Sheamus into these top quality matches on a card, but he has made Gunther look like the next big star. And the progression of Gunther is going to rely on experienced guys like Sheamus being able to get in there, give him quality matches, give him these stiff big guy matches and stuff like that a guy like Sheamus can get in there and take, because it makes us excited as fans that we're seeing two guys that are legitimately throwing down in the center of that ring, and both guys walk away looking good. Sheamus doesn't need the Grand Slam. Maybe someday, sure, if he's still around in the next couple of years, in a year's time, maybe the right time will be to pull the trigger then and give him it before he ends his career and everything. But right now, you're right. He's not the right guy to take it off Gunther, and they haven't developed the right guy to take it off Gunther just yet.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to him being the right guy. I just, when you have somebody like Gunther, and we all are very happy with the way not only he's being used, but being perceived right now on the main roster, it's one of those things where it wouldn't help him enough if you took a title off him right away after winning it. Not to mention, they've been doing such a good job making that Intercontinental Championship mean so much more now that it doesn't help the championship anymore if you're just having it be hot potato. I'm okay with Sheamus being the guy. It's just, let's have a good, story, because, if people don't remember, yeah, Daniel Bryan, I know, beat John Cena for the championship at SummerSlam, but then he got that taken away from him right away, and they never gave it back to him till WrestleMania 30. So if WrestleMania was, say, end March, April, we're looking at 7 months, 8 months of just storytelling to help him elevate to there. And even then, it was more of a natural fit, because he wasn't even in the Royal Rumble. He wasn't even the scheduled guy that they wanted to go there. And it just ended up happening because eventually, he just became too red hot to make it a thing. But allow that natural aspect to happen, because I still think if Daniel Bryan never had that natural fan reaction, you wouldn't have had that moment at WrestleMania 30 with him. And I think, too, if we just give Sheamus this now, you're taking away a possible huge moment that he could have later on when you allow things to just get bigger and kind of be better at it. So that's why I just say, allow this to happen. And, now I'm kind of happy that he's not doing Intercontinental stuff right now. He's doing stuff with the Bloodline and getting you to be really focused on that, because if you got to watch SmackDown, you had him in a match against Solo Sikoa, and the match was great. I thought that was one of the better showings for Solo Sikoa. You can tell he was definitely tested going up against Sheamus. But then you had the Bloodline take him out. Roman Reigns is not there, but you had the Bloodline kind of dismantle him and put his arm in a chair on the steps and just keep waffling him with that. Kind of like they're trying to take him out, but now they're giving you that sympathetic feel for Sheamus. They're adding that emotional investment on him. So by the time he does something next, you're amplifying his next achievement, because you're getting him emotionally invested with the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you as well, too. And, they're doing, and again, this is very possibly the case, what Throwback's saying. And by the way, good morning, Throwback. The stuff with the Bloodline is setting up a War Games match, and good, really good, because these are guys that are going to be able to throw down in there and make this count, make it be a memorable War Games match. I mean, if you're going to bring this to the main roster at this point, you need a good storyline, not just something thrown together for no reason. And if this is setting the tone for what that build is going to be, having the Brawling Brutes and Sheamus taking on the Bloodline in War Games, sign me up. I'm down for it. It sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like, and it's something that it makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people were looking at potentially, like, I know the rumors were Bloodline against a Bray Wyatt a group or whatever, but at the same time, I'm like, I'd feel they'd be rushing this Bray Wyatt stuff if they went there. And right now, I think the beauty of it is a slow burn you're getting with him, and all the little things in the cracks of the QR codes and just all the little subtle hints that come with it. But it would just be a natural progression to have the Brawling Brutes and the Bloodline, and maybe we see Drew McIntyre being that person to come in, and you can then bring Drew McIntyre back in that fold, and it does it in a way that makes sense. Because I just can't see what this War Games match would be if you had the 5 guys on the Bloodline against 3 on the Brawling Brutes. You're gonna have to add a couple people here.
Well, I mean, again, we don't know for certain that all members of the Bloodline would be taking place. This could be a natural 4v4 War Games match as well, too. That's not outside the realm of possibility. So we could end up seeing, Roman not participating in said match. I mean, maybe Roman will end up in a title fight for all we know at this point in time. Okay. It could go down. And adding Drew McIntyre does make a lot of sense because on the house show circuit, they have been having Drew McIntyre quite often teaming up with Sheamus against members of the Bloodline and various other people as well too. So this would be a very natural fit that would make sense to a lot of people. Drew's got his problems with them as well too, and yeah, I could see that going down in that capacity.
Yeah, and like the only thing that would kind of make me a little bit like is the fact that he does have a thing going on with Karrion Kross right now, and you'd kind of want maybe that to be involved, but as like we're watching the progression of SmackDown, we had Sami Zayn, who's now kind of responsible for Jey Uso, because he's been kind of showcased as a hothead, short-tempered. You see where I'm going with that. And then he had advised the rest of the Bloodline that Roman does not want the Bloodline to do anything to provoke Logan Paul because he doesn't want Logan Paul to think that he is in the head of anybody there. And then as Logan Paul comes out, makes his way, like does a little in-ring promo, we saw Jey Uso attack him from behind, and as SmackDown's going off, it's Sami Zayn trying to pull him off and say, like, dude, like, you can't do that. And you're seeing Logan Paul then get the one punch on Jey Uso walking out of SmackDown thinking, okay, I'm in the head now. So doing exactly what he wants. So I'd be almost expecting it if Jey Uso was told by Roman Reigns, you're the odd man out here. That's your punishment for disrespecting my order, kind of a thing. So it'd be interesting because I do think they're gearing Jey Uso up to be a big player if he's going to be someone that could break away. It's not what I'd want, but I mean, they're making him look very, very good right now.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to want to break them away at the same time too, because the Usos have just been such a perfect fit as a tag team that have conquered that division. But we've never really seen how far they could fly as solo competitors. Even I mean, we've seen bits and pieces of it and stuff like that, but never once just completely on their own, just to see where the cookie crumbles and see what could come of it, kind of thing. I mean, how long have the Usos been there now as a tag team? It's been well over a decade. I mean, these guys are a very decorated tag team to put in the time, put in the work. And as much as you don't want to lose them in the tag division, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So if they were to split them now temporarily to see what could happen and stuff like that, tag team reunions always are a very hot topic when it comes to professional wrestling and the fans involved.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to get an idea of when they made their debut here. I'm just pulling up. It was May 24th, 2010.
Yeah, there we go. So 12 years at this point already. Rolling into a 13-year career in the WWE, mostly as tag team competitors, never really getting the chance to break free. I know, again, we've said they've had little bits here and there, but it would be a very unique, interesting way to approach it, to see where these two could go individually. And then again, down the road in a few years when your tag division is really starving for some fresh blood again, or even just some old school blood to come back and really put over a hot new team and stuff, there would be a great opportunity for a reunion of the Usos at that point in time.
Yeah. And speaking of tag teams, I just want to say, like, we're a tag team with our chat. And if our chat can help us out a little bit, we'd like to help or just get you to not only like give us some suggestions what you want us to talk about, because we want to interact with you, but also we're live here on Twitch/The Chris Parrish, also on Bobby Munson's YouTube. So if we can spread the word and get more people out here, it'd be a little bit more enjoyable to see this chat just fly off the rails as much as we like to. No, just a little ask from us over here.
The longer you keep us talking, the longer we're on your screen. So
yeah. Who knows where this train will go when the tracks are fresh. But that kind of takes me to the point of, by seeing the Usos doing stuff on a singles aspect, what it does is not allow me to watch a lot of tag team titles being defended. And I'm going to point this out of, maybe it is time right now that the tag team titles are being overshadowed by the storylines in the bloodline. So perhaps maybe it is time now to think about the next team to take the titles off the Usos moving forward, whether it is maybe a set of Good Brothers. Maybe it is like that soon to re-debut Viking Raiders, where Sarah Logan is going to be returning, I believe, with them. So I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe now is the time to kind of pull the plug on the tag titles with the Usos and start kind of thinking, okay, maybe there is that chink in the armor of the bloodline and they're not as bulletproof as, they have been.
Yeah, that is very true too. And again, with the Good Brothers coming back, I will see the impact that they have. It's an easy team to pull the trigger on, definitely on the tag division and everything like that. But I would like to see that progress slowly as well too. I really don't want to see them pull the trigger immediately on the Good Brothers as the tag champs, and whether or not they're the ones to dethrone, or do you pull the trigger on a Sami Zayn face turn, having him teaming with Kevin Owens and have them go into that category? Because I know a lot of fans are clamoring for that, and I don't blame them. I think Sami Zayn is about as over as anybody is going to get in terms of going babyface. As soon as that happens, the sympathy he's going to get when he is, banished from the bloodline and everything, and reforms that friendship, that bond with his, his close companion, best friend in the world, Kevin Owens. People are going to go bonkers for it. Those two are going to get big pops. We know that they can work together. And in a tag capacity, I don't see any fans that are going to complain about a run with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as the tag team champions in WWE.
No, and I think it's much like when you get to see that moment where they reconcile and they are back together, it's going to be an absolute pop. People are going to go crazy. And it's going to be nice, and because everyone knows their organic story. And that's, again, going back to that storytelling between the two of them. There is such a long history with both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn that the day where they decide to team back up and take on that evil empire that is known as the Bloodline, it's going to be a big thing. And I think a lot of people are going to just be so over the moon with excitement if that's to happen. I know I would be, because one, just from the beginning, when we saw Kevin Owens debut in WWE, it was on NXT, and it was the same day Sami Zayn won that NXT championship from Neville. And the first thing we saw was Kevin Owens turn on Sami Zayn after embracing him. And then we had this long epic rivalry with the two. And then Sami Zayn helps Kevin Owens. They unite, but they united as the heels. right? Like, so like it's still going to be something different in their evolution of their history. So it's going to be a lot of fun just to see that.
Yeah. And, the best part about that whole thing, too, was, for any of the people that were smart to the business enough that they had read about the friendship between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they followed him on the independents, they, might not have necessarily seen the turn coming. And, some might have. I see that Ashford predicted that one before it happened. Well, again, not a lot of people might have seen it, some might not. Either way, though, the best part about it is normally when you have someone come in and make an attack like that, you have to build a narrative right away and everything. But a lot of people were in on the narrative of this one before it happened. Kevin Owens is a prize fighter. He'll stab even his own best friend in the back in order to get to where he needs to go. But then again, for the people who weren't aware of it, again, you had a guy come in, make an attack on this, clear baby face in the company. And then from there, they built the narrative anyway, which only helped to develop that feud more and more. And it carried well onto the main roster. And these guys have been putting in the work for so long. I mean, I think everybody at this point is just rooting to see them get to the top finally because of everything that they've put in, all the hard work they've put in, the continuous entertainment that they provide. And, sometimes turning what a lot of people would consider to be absolute garbage into some absolute gold too. I mean, a lot of the recent work from both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn can toe that line of kind of silly to the point of like insulting as a fan, but they made it so it wasn't quite so insulting and people enjoyed it and got firmly behind what they were working on.
Yeah. And I don't know, like when it's just important and when it's real and when it's organic, it just seems to hit a little bit closer to the heartstrings. And once you're able to get emotionally invested in what you see in front of you, you're going to be just attached to that a little bit more. And that's what I want WWE to do a little bit more of with a lot more. And that's why I'd rather see their slow burn. And that's why I like the fact that in 2023, we're going to see maybe less PLEs to allow this to be a thing, because I do think the more shows you have, it's taken away those opportunities of letting things really settle in front of you.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, man. Like I can't. I got nothing more to add, to be honest. I 100% agree. I don't see how I can give you much more than that.
I know. On Monday Night Raw, we saw a match that was supposed to take place between The Miz and one Dexter Lumis. And if Dexter Lumis won, he would get a WWE contract. Miz decides not only to fake an injury, have Johnny Gargano completely showcase the fact that he was faking it, which I thought was hilarious. I have now bought in 100% to a Johnny Gargano Miz match or feud here. First time on the main roster where Johnny Gargano references marriage to Candice LeRae, which I thought was great because they're not keeping them totally apart. Because he even mentioned that if Miz can't compete, maybe they'll need to have him and Candice be the new Miz and Mrs. Kind of a thing. But to me, it's just funny because there definitely seems that they're going to prolong this match with Dexter Lumis that's upcoming. But I just want to kind of get your thoughts on this Miz Dexter Lumis angle and feud going on, because talking about something that I think it's running its course, I think it's nearing that point. But I also think the continuity of Johnny Gargano helping Dexter Lumis out is kind of fun and fun to watch. I just want to get your kind of take on this.
No, here's my take. I honestly don't want the match to happen right now. I know a lot of people are, it's run its course, like you said, and stuff. Sure. But don't have the match happen just yet. Dexter Lumis needs to continue kind of what he's doing in general and stuff like that to get in people's heads. You can have him have a match eventually with somebody and stuff like that. Build him up with some enhancement talent. Even I'd keep him away from having the match against The Miz. The Miz can find every reason to get out of it, continue to stay away from it, but always know in the back of his mind that Dexter Lumis is lurking and capable of striking at any time, which I think The Miz can play into beautifully. I think pushing The Miz over to this Johnny Gargano feud, I think, is excellent, because not only do you have the possibility of Johnny Gargano Miz one-on-one? You can tie into the whole Johnny and Candice LeRae versus Miz and Mrs. obviously, and then you've also got Ciampa as that X factor in there, and knowing the ties to him and Johnny Gargano, and the idea that we could get a DIY reunion to also add to the tag division. Speaking of teams that could dismantle the Usos tag title run,
that's my hope. I hope it's DIY.
Yeah, and there you go. I mean, I think it's a perfect opportunity to set the tone for that. And once you've had all that fleshed out and everything like that, maybe that's the time to strike and have that Dexter Lumis Miz one-on-one finally kind of thing. You know, Dexter Lumis strikes one more time later down the road, and he's pushed it too far. Finally, the Miz meets him in the ring for that match.
Now, in a weird way, and I kind of think that this could be a thing. But do you think the whole reason why Dexter Lumis is attacking the Miz is just because he wants Johnny Gargano and Ciampa to get back together? And if he is able to, make that wedge between Ciampa and the Miz, that Ciampa could then find his way, pun intended, back to Johnny Gargano?
I mean, there's that possibility. I mean, you could also run that maybe he's Dexter Lumis is a little bit jealous and he wants that spotlight, and maybe he's planning for him and Indy Hartwell to be the new Miz and Mrs.
Which would be also really funny.
That would be, they almost should start some sort of parody of it or something like that, where the two of them just start taping segments with, their version of Miz and, the Dex and Indy show or whatever it is. I think you could run with that and have some fun with that to really, get under the skin of the Miz. And again, now setting up another potential intergender at the same time. I mean, there is all these possibilities coming around with intergender wrestling right now that I think the WWE is going to do a good job at pushing for.
Now, when you say there's a lot of intergender things you can do, is this now a right time to perhaps do another mixed match challenge? I think if done right, you could have a good one. My thing is, if you do happen to go that route, don't limit it to just Raw and SmackDown. Use NXT with it as well, and make it like one of those tribal brands, or and I think that'd be a lot of fun, because there is a lot of intergender tags that you could have. However, I don't have a want for this to be a consistent thing, but I do think the tournament can be fun if they decide to actually make it entertaining, which I thought the last one had its moments.
It had its moments for sure, but again, where it maybe failed was these were teams that were put together for the sake of making sure that the show could happen. Right now, more than ever, they have laid out plans for it being a very strong possibility to make a strong case for doing a proper show of it and everything too. I mean, you imagine, depending on when they were decide to pull the trigger, I mean, you have that strong possibility of even Cody and Brandy involvement in this thing. I mean, Edge comes back from his kayfabe injury. You've got him and Beth Phoenix lined up for this thing. There is so many of these true life partnerships within there. I mean, you can even, depending on if they're going to have them go in any sort of direction with the Bray Wyatt stuff, Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman have that from the original mixed match challenge. And they kind of kept it where they made it feel like they were a team and stuff like that, and never lost that friendship. So more than ever, it would be great for them to be a part of it as well too.
Well, yeah, and then you can also get to maybe the Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, or you can do Rhea Ripley and Dominic Mysterio.
That would be more fun.
Yeah, I just think, like, I don't know if like anybody else sees it, but you can definitely tell. Like, it just seems like Rhea and Damian Priest are like the same people. Or it's like, again, it's just hilarious that Rhea forgets her pants, and then Damian's like, "Here, have mine," and they just fit. And so it's like, oh no, it'd be great. But I mean, also, like, there is a potential buddy that Rhea could know that could be prone to be WWE bound in the near future, or in the future, maybe not near, but we'll just let that speculate among the masses on that one.
Are we just creating like rumors now, like just clickbait? Like, let's just create some random clickbait here on Busting Out for the fun.
Right? Yeah, why not? I mean,
as reported first here on Busting Out, breaking news.
I'm just gonna say, I like, in order to go fish, you got to put a bait. So, I mean,
That's
we're just trying to catch the big fish. Uh, so, yeah, but then like you have also like the plethora of possibilities. Like you talked about Alexa Bliss, like there could be the potential of Liv Morgan doing that.
You're damn right. Olay is better than Wrestle Talk because Olay is where it's at. Olay. All right, we got something better than that, don't we?
I mean, we
Olay. There we go. Oh, there we are. Now everybody's awake. Hey, good morning.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it'd be fun that if their idea was to take away less of the gimmick PLEs down forward, that would open up the ability to have a little bit more fun ones like a mixed match challenge, or maybe even think about doing Clash at the Castle being a yearly thing, because I think that's more than topic discussion at that point. Like that was one hell of a show.
King of the Ring night 1, Queen of the Ring night 2.
Yeah. So just doing different things like that would be a little bit more interesting. And you'd have to think with Triple H being in charge now that you're going to see a little bit more of that stuff.
It seems to work a lot better too. People, again, like we said earlier in the night, like the gimmick stuff starts to get blended together to the point where you forget about it and it makes no impact anymore. So if you want those things to make an impact, speaking of making an impact Thursday nights, if you want those things to make an impact, you gotta give people a reason for them to make those impacts and stuff. It's why they've been so effective in doing a lot of what they're doing right now. I mean, I know that they blended together a lot of gimmicky stuff recently because it's within the schedule. The things were booked. They've got to do what they've got to do, kind of thing. But there is an opportunity to kind of change that narrative a little bit moving forward, and I hope that is the plan with the premium live events, because everyone will be a lot more invested in them if they have better themes to them and stuff like that. Like, hey, we're watching one that's taking place in the UK. We're watching the Saudi Arabia show coming up. I mean, some people will be watching. I can't say that everybody definitely supports those shows, but and if they do more of that worldwide travel and really getting to showcase WWE around the world, I think it's going to open a lot more eyes. It's going to bring a lot more wrestling to the table. And that way, when they do the gimmick stuff, when they bring in bring in an elimination chamber or anything of the sort, people are going to be severely invested in it, because it's like, absence makes the heart grow fonder. If you're going to be given these things over and over and over again, it's not quite the same impact it once had. Now, if you take them away a little bit and then bring them out, people are going to love it. And that's why, when when Triple H announced that War Games was coming up to the main roster for the first time, people were excited because, again, we're getting War Games on the main roster at Survivor Series, and we get to see it involve people who have never had that opportunity, most of which have never had that opportunity to step place in a War Games match this far in their career.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden this is a match that matters again.
Yeah.
Not that it didn't matter, but it seemed like, the first couple were cool, and then all of a sudden, like, it felt like it was forced because now we're just trying to find the right amount of people to do it. Like that, I'll give the NXT versus NXT 2.0 one a pass because I did like the dynamic, and I thought that was a great way of passing the torch.
Yeah.
However, I do think it was kind of weird seeing somebody at that time, LA Knight, be a part of Team NXT, and he was just as new to NXT as some of these NXT 2.0 people. So it seemed like, again, like maybe that wasn't the best guy, but I understand why, because I don't know, but it just made a couple of the things feel a little bit forced, in my opinion. This one, you can make it feel a little bit more natural. Plus, now you're able to spread out, if you want to do elimination chamber matches down the road, or if you want to do another fight pit, which I thought the last one with Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle was very successful, despite Daniel Cormier forgetting the finish to the match, which might have been one of my favorite stories when I read that. But no, I mean, at the same time, like that match, I thought was amazing. I thought it exceeded the one that came before it. But now it just gives these matches a little bit more of a platform to when they should happen.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what makes them that much more special, as we've mentioned before. And I gotta say, you mentioned a certain name there that I wanted to bring up, and in the form of LA Knight. Is this the former Max Dupree that we're talking about here? Because I'm pretty sure I heard something about a name change on Friday night.
It wasn't last Friday. I mean, we saw
Okay,
2
all right.
Fridays ago he made his return as LA Knight. Yeah.
About damn time.
Yeah. But it was, I don't know, like I was already a little bit like weird because he had that match with it was a Mansoor or whatever, Mansoor,
One of the
or
Mons.
whatever. Yeah. But then like, and of course he wins with that match or in that match, but then he kind of cuts like a heel promo after the match, saying he didn't like come back for like everyone else, or he doesn't need like, and it was very confusing. So at this point, like I have no idea kind of like where they're going with LA Knight, but I'm happy that he's back. I also think he might get lost in the shuffle on SmackDown. I think this guy could benefit from going over to Raw. And on Monday Night Raw, we saw JBL come back, bring back Baron Corbin.
Yep.
And I could see maybe LA Knight being a perfect person to join this faction moving forward.
Yeah, that was an interesting one too, because there was some people starting to speculate that Baron Corbin might be Mercy the Buzzard in Bray's new faction, but I guess that's not the case, and we got him back with JBL in his corner again. There's one thing that Baron Corbin is not great at: it's talking. Some of it's his voice, some of it's just maybe the way he was taught to do promos at this point in time. I think with a mouth like JBL behind him, I think we could definitely see a better side of Baron Corbin, maybe a more aggressive side of Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
And maybe one that people aren't so repulsed by or want to change their channel when he comes out on their TV.
Well, it seems like he's more of a hot commodity or more of a prize fighter, so to speak, because it very much reminds me of CM Punk with Paul Heyman. And I say this because CM Punk didn't need Paul Heyman to get him heat or even talk for him. I don't think Baron Corbin needs anybody to get him heat. But what JBL has the ability to do, and I said this when Carl and I did our watch along for Raw, is he's able to bring back his accomplishments and use that to help elevate Baron Corbin.
Well, and then also, sorry to interrupt, but they should also rely on Corbin's outside accomplishments, like make him seem like he's a prize fighter in all aspects of sports, because we're talking about a football champion, a 3-time Golden Gloves boxing champion. Those are not done by just anybody. Baron Corbin is quite an accomplished human being outside of professional wrestling.
Well, and I know in the past they've done that. When he was the lone wolf, I know they use that a lot to help amplify him. And let's not even forget, that guy's a former Money in the Bank winner. He is Andre the Giant Memorial Battle winner. I believe he was he not the first one? Or the second one? No, Cesaro was the first, and then he was the second. Yeah. But he won it on his first match on the main roster. Like, that's kind of how he made his transition. So he, if we want to, making that impact, he made his impact, right? So, but I mean, and then the former U.S. title and things like that. Like, he is maybe not as accomplished as he kind of maybe should be, to be quite honest. I do think he should, but at the end of the day, he is someone that has value. And with JBL, what JBL is going to be doing is he's going to just take him to that next level and have that ability, because he's associated now with a guy who's a very decorated tag team wrestler with APA, with Ron Simmons. He's also a former Intercontinental champion, former U.S. champion, former WWE champion. So that association alone is going to help elevate Baron Corbin. As Ed said, Corbin is a star. They just need to let him do his thing. Exactly. And I do believe that this is on that right path to doing his thing. I just also think if they're going to make this a stable, I would love to see guys like maybe an LA Knight and kind of make these kind of guys a thing. Not a tag team, but just a stable, because they're really getting stable heavy right now.
Yeah, and the cool thing is too is like JBL. I mean, again, talk about a guy who, as a tag team wrestler was accepted by the fans. They got really behind him. But do you recall when he first came out as JBL, like we know him as the arrogant money master kind of character? People hated the living shit out of this change. They did not want to see it. They did not want to buy JBL as a main event player until he started having some of those barn burner matches with guys like Eddie Guerrero's and your John Cena's and stuff like that, where suddenly attitudes changed. And that's the thing with Baron Corbin, is I think pushed in the right direction with a guy who had a similar transition in a way. I guess Corbin was never really a tag wrestler, but I mean, to have a guy completely switch back to something that maybe the average fan didn't see from Baron Corbin, because we didn't get to see a lot of the lone wolf presented in WWE, not for too long anyway. I think that this is the right guy to push him in the right direction, to make him that aggressor, to make him that vicious, dirty, vile heel that people will naturally dislike, and at the same time will bring us some quality and bring a new threat to the Raw roster at this point.
Well, and I think there's a lot of similarities between the two, because like you said, there was a little bit of a pushback with JBL when he started out as, his, hey, look, I'm a millionaire kind of a thing. I'm a stockbroker and I got all this success. I got this money. I remember how much heat he got just in the Eddie Guerrero segment. And then when he actually defeated Eddie Guerrero to become that champion, there was a lot there. And it seemed very similar to Baron Corbin, because I remember Baron Corbin coming out, and I remember like Corey Graves always smack talking him, or not, or there's always that right away. He got so much heat in NXT, and he would just have those squash matches. Yeah. He's not like, don't get me wrong, I would love to see him as a babyface and just be a badass in that way, but he is such a natural for getting that heat, to the point where he's also being a little bit pushed back from people believing him as a main event guy. And that's why he lost his Money in the Bank, because there just wasn't that belief in him as being a world champion. But again, who better to know this as JBL, because he had a very similar path. Yep. Now, the fact that they're associated with each other, it's very interesting, because like you said, there's just so many similarities between JBL and Baron Corbin now, and it's the fact we get to say Baron Corbin.
Yeah, finally.
Thank you. But again, like, what I like is the fact that Baron Corbin's on our screen, because until he started having those good matches, he started getting that respect from the fans as well, just like JBL did. And then people bought into him as world champion, and then more people believe in Baron Corbin. To me, it's the same things to why people push back. There's just something missing. And I do believe JBL has that it factor that he knows Baron Corbin is missing. I think this is a match made in heaven, to be quite honest.
I totally agree with you. And, it's really cool to see that, like, at first when Triple H took over, we saw a lot of the returns happening. It was a return on Raw, a return on SmackDown, a return at a pay-per-view. And it was happening all back to back to back, to the point where it's like, there's only so many returns we can do, or so many signings that can happen before it starts to get a little stagnant. And I think that they're realizing that they brought in all the excitement they need to. They've made intrigue with Bray Wyatt and what's going on with him now. So, okay, let's change a few things. Let's start correcting some of the mistakes we feel that the past regiment made, including changing LA Knight back to being LA Knight instead of Max Dupree, bringing out Baron Corbin instead of Happy Corbin, because nobody on this planet ever asked or wanted to see Happy Corbin, for that matter. Like, I mean, credit to Baron Corbin for playing along with it and doing as he was. I mean, there's something to be said that's to somebody who's a team player that will go out and perform the way they're asked to at their job. I mean, credit to him, and that's why they're going to take this opportunity to put a big star in his corner and push him at a level that they're going to. And I believe it's going to be a strong level. I believe that the way they'll push him is Baron Corbin to be a contender for championships moving forward.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. I really hope that he is U.S. champion by Royal Rumble. I don't think Seth Rollins, in any way, shape, or form, needs a long title reign here.
No. No.
And I think it would be great if somebody helps him lose that title in some way, because I don't think Bobby Lashley is going to go back to the U.S. title anytime soon. I do think there's going to be a match between him and Brock Lesnar, which I'm really hoping is either going to be Survivor Series, or maybe they push that towards a Rumble, which I can't expect. Like, we're in October now? Like, I don't see this happening for 3 months. Like, I think it'll happen within that time frame.
You don't think they're going to shovel that onto Crown Jewel?
I 100% think they are. That's why I would just like them to have this be one of their big matches at the Royal Rumble, because quite honestly, I don't want to see either two in the Royal Rumble match this year.
Now, if you want to reuse a gimmick, like we talked heavily about gimmicks today, if you want to reuse a gimmick and build up to it, could you imagine a pit fight match between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar at, say, the Royal Rumble? If they built something along those lines, that would make sense. And it would be awesome to watch those two big beasts going at it in that particular gimmick.
That would be the one time where I'm like, you know what? Whether it's a last man standing match, whether it's maybe even an MMA related, like if they were to do a fight pit.
Yeah.
Like those guys do a fight pit. Now you're changing the game, because like your original fight pit were guys that just like to brawl with Ciampa and I believe it was Riddle, or no, it was Thatcher, right? Timothy Thatcher and Ciampa was the original fight pit in NXT.
I think so, yeah. Pretty sure of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just guys that can like go into that way, right? Like it's a different kind of thing. And then all of a sudden you have Riddle and Rollins, guys that are just athletic. I'm not even going to put Riddle in that you can kick my ass type category anymore, because he is so. Timothy and Riddle. Okay, so Riddle is like the fight pit guy then.
Yeah.
Why was I thinking Ciampa was in one?
I think he was. There was a secondary one with Riddle.
Was there two?
If I'm not mistaken.
I know Astrid, you'd be able to correct me on that.
Yeah, there was 2 on NXT and now 1 on the main roster. I think it's 3 total so far. But again, Lesnar and Lashley makes sense too with the MMA background of both.
Exactly, and it's completely different of a match you're going to expect, because it's two guys that they're not going to jump off stuff. In fact, it is. Okay, I am so confused now, but maybe there was 2. But they're just going to be guys that are, maybe they could break this cage, stuff like that. Like, I want to see mayhem with these guys, and that's it. So if that's something that I'm going to get out of this, I'm all in, because I don't expect headlocks. I don't expect to see arm bars. I don't expect to see Saskatchewan spinning nerve holds. I expect to see pure brute ass kicking. And
okay, if one of the boys at Prairie Pro Wrestling doesn't start using a Saskatchewan spinning nerve hold at this point in time, then we have lost all credibility here in Saskatchewan.
Speaking of which, I'm just going to get back to some of these comments, because
they're flying in here.
Yeah, Melball coming in. Still trying to see the benefit of Gals and Anderson, but as long as I don't need to see them, I'm happy.
I've got a solution for this. All you got to do, and this is a crazy trick that somebody showed me a hack on a long time ago. You just go like this, and suddenly things just disappear. It's like they're not even there. You just can't see them or something.
And then Astrid coming in, who do you guys think is Hit Row's partner against LDF?
They're going to bring in Swerve. He's going to walk in with a AEW tag title.
I'm going to think it's Angelo Dawkins if Montez Ford is still hurt.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Yeah.
I think that it's a very easy transition. And I heard that there's a lot of people backstage impressed with Angelo Dawkins as of late, and damn well should be, because I remember not too long ago we're talking about the potential split of the Street Profits because Montez Ford is just killing it, and it's leaving Angelo Dawkins behind. And I'm just like, Angelo Dawkins is working his tail off right now. Like, how can you just let that go? So I'm so happy to see not only him kind of get that praise, but also people kind of quiet down on taking him and Montez away from each other.
Yeah, and again, you don't have to take guys away from each other completely to push them in a singles direction. I mean, it's testament to what they've done with the New Day as well, too, that you can have them go into those without breaking the friendship. They don't have to have a feud in order to, separate as a tag team for it to ever really. Andre, my man.
And if you guys want to know who's the mind behind that New Japan, one of that New Japan show, boom, that Canadian dude right there.
Go follow him and go follow twitch.tv/Melball and something. Sorry, I got it.
We'll just play this video
Andre
one more
Melville,
time to let everyone know. Rumble on 44th Street Sidecast.
It was a late night last night.
Friday, October 28th, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I believe that's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We got twitch.tv/Andre and Mel Ball. Boom, on the time frame. That's perfect.
But somebody's got this done right.
Yeah, that's what we have there. And then Astrid was saying there's two. There's Ciampa versus Timothy.
There we go.
And Timothy versus Riddle. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. So there's two more topics I had that I wanted to ask you about. One, and I'm gonna go with the last one, or obviously. First one I'm going to say is we saw a match and a very scary incident on Dynamite this week between Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. It seemed like it was just a clothesline go wrong or a lariat go wrong, however you want to pronounce it. And unfortunately, we saw Hangman Adam Page just kind of lay there very defensiveless. He was concussed from what we understand, rushed to a hospital. Just absolutely scary of an incident. This is something that not a lot of people ever want to see in professional wrestling. Hopefully there's no people that want to see this. But I do think it's worth mentioning that there is a style happening in professional wrestling nowadays that just seems where athletes are being forced that they have to go with that extra mile just to please the fans. And we're seeing a lot more injuries like this kind of happen. First things first, I really hope Hangman Adam Page is all right. I do think it was very respectful the way not only the broadcast went about it, the people that helped him with it. Tony Khan, I think, deserves a lot of credit on the way he handled that situation and updated the fans. So I'm glad to see that he is going to be okay. But at some point, please, as wrestlers, you got to understand that you can't go that hard every single time. You're going to wreck your body. And I'm just seeing this become more of a trend. I want to get your opinions on that, just because you do see a lot of wrestling with PPW over in Saskatchewan. What are your thoughts on that? Just not only that event, but also, maybe do you agree with me that maybe there's a style change that is just allowing injuries to be more of an occurrence?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, again, when the first time that someone ever saw that particular lariat done, where they think that you would call that a up and over or whatever it is, where they do the backflip from the lariat clothesline, it is a cool factor when you don't see it all the time, but it has become one of those things. If you don't do that, you take a regular clothesline, a lot of the times I think they get the feeling like fans just aren't going to pop for it. And that's the thing, is everybody wants those quick pops, and it really doesn't lead to anything being built in the process, and leads to these silly injuries, these careless injuries. And I don't want to say that this one was necessarily careless. I don't think any guy in particular did anything wrong. Moxley didn't hit his lariat wrong. This was just Adam Page did not quite fully get over in the maneuver and managed to concuss himself. And again, it's just a testament to, it's a Wednesday night. You don't need to go above and beyond for a Wednesday night to get the cheap pops. Save it for a pay-per-view, save it for a premium live event, save it for whatever, to do those moments. Again, it's really scary to see. And I mean, I have seen it in a live capacity where guys go that extra mile, and I'm like, man, I know what you're trying to do, and I appreciate what you're trying to do, and the rate that you're putting in, and what you're doing to your bodies, but I fear for their futures sometimes, or sometimes I fear that they're not going to walk out the building the same way kind of thing. And I fear that from not only as a human being, but also as like seeing some people who I consider close personal friends in there. And I worry that I'm going to end up having to, go follow them to a hospital later that night and, be talking to them there or something like that, or at the next show having to support them as we're bringing them in a wheelchair. And it's the last thing I want to see anybody, whether they're a close person to me or just anybody in the business, doing in general, because you don't want to see needless injuries happening to good people.
Yeah, and that's something that I just want to see these guys on TV every week. I don't need them to be away because of something like that. And I'm not going to criticize these guys on their decisions, because I understand it. You're fighting for the world title. I understand that episode you're going head to head with NXT. I know there's pressure. I know there's an opportunity there that you want to make sure that you make the most of it. I'm not going to fault him for doing this, but at the same time, I'm going to be it's not something I want to see these guys do all the time. And like you said, like, you appreciate the effort, you appreciate their desire and their will to do this, but understand that there's going to be a setback if you do it too much. I fear so much for some of these guys when they decide to go that hard all the time, because eventually it's going to stop, and eventually your body's going to say no. And eventually, like, you're going to make that one decision that prevents you from doing this moving forward. And that's not what we want to see as fans. I'm sure that's not what they want as performers. I can respect the desire of doing it till the wheels fall off, but nobody actually wants to watch the wheels fall off.
No, they really don't. And again, like, I mean, not everybody that participates in wrestling is my favorite person, but I never want to see anyone get hurt, because I know the struggles, the things that they go through, and like how hard that would be to have that career taken away from you, the thing you've worked your entire life for. And where do you go from there, right? Like, where do you go once you can no longer participate in the one passion, the one thing that you've been doing forever and stuff like that, and it just gets taken away because of one small little mistake in what you're doing and everything. The wrestling ring is no joke. I mean, you can attest to this, Parrish. It's easy to watch it on TV and be like, okay, these are professionals, they know what they're doing. It's stage. I love the whole, like, oh well, it's made up. You decide what's happening. It's not just like that. A lot of people don't realize the steps that you need to remember, the different body language you need to use, and the things like that, the little key things inside the ring that you have to 100% remember every single time you step in with any single opponent in there, because one wrong step. And I remember somebody saying this at a training session is, if I go out there and, I'm going to say it because you know what, I'm going to use the exact language. If I go out there and I'm wrestling a top guy being brought into an independent show and I fuck up and cost him his career, it also cost me my career, kind of thing. And so you got to be careful of these things. And sometimes knowing when to hold back a little bit can be key in a long-term career inside professional wrestling.
Yeah, and we just see one little instant, and nothing's a better prime example of the Bill Goldberg Bret Hart match, where it was just one careless little kick gone wrong, and that turned to be the last match that Bret Hart ever had. And yeah, there's a lot of animosity still between the two. No, nothing more than even Bret Hart lately just coming out and saying that WWE should take him out of the Hall of Fame, which I find a little excessive, but I mean,
but Brett's just hilarious lately. I mean, like, I can't help but laugh every time he says these things.
But yeah, like the bigger point is, yeah, exactly. One little mishap could cost you so much more. Like, it might not just be a concussion that you can get away from, or you can recover from. It could be that concussion that is your last concussion that takes you away from this forever. You might have to find plan B sooner than you wanted to, and that's just unfortunate. Nobody wants to see the unfortunate happen, and we've seen too much in the last little while, people having to retire because of whether it's head injuries, whether it's that upper neck or things like that. The list is becoming very large over the last year's. Thankfully, some have found their way back, but also some don't. So let's just keep that in mind. The last one I want to do is definitely talk about Bray Wyatt. I want to talk about kind of the promo he had last week, kind of going back into what he did this week. But also, more importantly, I want to know who is the first feud, the first match for Bray Wyatt in ring. And I think that, to me, is the QR code that is the most mysterious, because as of right now, there hasn't been a target.
Nope.
And it seems more cryptic, more open-ended. So my question is, who will be that first person Bray Wyatt attacks and has a match with?
I almost don't want him to go big on this kind of thing. I'd like to see a slower progression and have him start picking up some strong victories. If you're going to push Bray Wyatt to the moon, the one thing they failed Bray Wyatt on in both his original format and also with The Fiend was, with The Fiend, it was overbooking as well, too. But having so many losses, and the losses keep racking up to the point where it loses the performer credibility. And I know we've said before that when booked right, even at a loss, you can look good. Problem was that Bray was never really booked right, even in a loss kind of thing. It was just loss after loss after loss. Every feud he ever ran, whether it was John Cena, The Undertaker, any of the sort, it really tended to cost him quite a bit. Now, this time around, I'd like to at least see maybe him take some early victims. And when you talk about first match, I'd like to see him take some enhancement talent and just this side of him that's being spoken about, he's a bad guy. He's going to do bad, horrible things to people. Now, you can't have him just go out and flat out beat a top star and annihilate a top star to get heat or anything on this character. I think you need to take somebody who seems innocent enough and everything like that to get in there and have them get murdered and destroyed, and have it get to the point where somebody just can't take it anymore. You bring in somebody that can give you a little bit of a credible feud, but somebody who would be willing to just step up to the plate and say enough's enough. I don't want to see you doing this to these guys anymore, and get involved. And that's when Bray turns his target to somebody who's got a little more credibility on the roster itself. And I'm just trying to think through, because we got SmackDown, right? Is kind of where we're making Bray Wyatt home, at least for the time being. I don't want to see it be against anybody silly. That's for sure. I don't want to see the maximum male models or something jump out and try to save the day or anything of the sort. I just try to think who on SmackDown is kind of that, I would say, mid to upper mid card level, enough to give credibility to a feud with Bray Wyatt, but enough that they would seem hero-like to at least be the one to have the balls to step up and say, no, enough's enough. I'm tired of you attacking these, one-off guys and stuff like that, and just doing these absolute horror shows in the ring for everybody.
Yeah, as to kind of figure that out, I just want to emphasize, I do agree with a lot of what you said. However, we here, Busting Out, do not go up against murder.
No. I mean, yeah, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny that you used that for him. Like, hey, we don't.
No, it's almost Halloween. It's Halloween themed year round.
But no, I just wanted to make that joke. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think the one person that comes right to mind, oh my lord, football. But no, I think the one person that comes to mind right away is Karrion Kross. Okay. And I think there is a lot right away that would to me make a lot of sense. Whether it's, I don't think you're going to have a match where that's going to be, what's the best way? It's not going to be detrimental to anyone. However, I do think it just makes sense. I would definitely look at a time where the next time we see Bray Wyatt just as him, I wouldn't throw it past a Karrion Kross that if, the thing is finished with Drew McIntyre at one point, I could see him, be that guy that just went for the attack.
Yeah.
And that's another name that I wouldn't have an issue with in Drew McIntyre as well. It's one of those two guys I think could be a great potential fit. However, I'm just also interested of maybe there are other people that we haven't seen. Like maybe there's an NXT, like maybe that's, a Joe Gacy or somebody like that. And I don't know. And I believe Bobby has to go poop. So that is why he's gone. I don't know. I should read this chat. But yeah, no, I'm very interested to see what you as a chat would have for an ideas here, because I think eventually you're going to have Bray Wyatt in that match. You're going to have him in a match back. You're going to have him in a feud. And I think it's very interesting. I'm very curious to see who that person's going to be. And I do think at some point, like I said, eventual. So, I mean, who could it be? What would be the perfect story? I'm going to go right in the honest field is I couldn't tell you the proper story, because there's a lot of this stuff that just go over my head in terms of the references and the creativeness. It's a whole different point of creative that, to me, I'm just blown away by. So does he kind of go in that supernatural kind of field, or is there something a little bit more dark with Bray Wyatt that he goes into? Because at this point in time, I don't know kind of what, because it looks more like it's a battle within himself opposed to a battle with other people. So could Bray Wyatt even fight his own demons? Like maybe he has matches against his former personalities and there are new people dressed up as his personalities. And we're kind of being brought back with Bobby, so I'm just going to bring him back in.
Hey, I made it to technical difficulties.
Okay. So you didn't have to poop.
No.
Okay, I was incorrect.
that would be way too quick.
Well, no, I was mentioning that perhaps like with Bray Wyatt, it seems like he's having a battle within himself right now. Maybe he has battles with his former personalities before he has any fights with somebody else.
Yeah, see, I almost don't want to see that as well, too. I don't mind the whole split personality, him battling within himself internally, and that's where Uncle Howdy comes into play. To have him have matches where you're going to dress the guy up just for the sake of doing it, it tends to go a little too on the silly side for me personally. That's just my thought. Again, when I was talking about somebody on the roster that like you could do the damage to, that at least has some credibility, you could bring in like this, and I'm just talking like a one-off, like have a guy like a Ricochet come in to save the day because he's had enough of the attacks happening on guys, at least to give some credibility to Bray, where, I mean, we know he's going to shred Ricochet if he goes into a match with him the way Ricochet has been used right now. You could just use that again to start putting over and really elevating the level of intensity and violence that Bray essentially is going to bring. If we're to believe what is being said by Uncle Howdy, there is some very intense violence coming from this version of Bray Wyatt, and sooner rather than later, I'm sure we're going to love to see it.
Yeah, and if you missed it, on his promo on SmackDown, he did mention that he understands that he has problems and he feels this is the best time to come clean. But he's also going to be honest and say he's going to do some horrible things down the road. And I loved that turn. I loved that we were going down a path and all of a sudden he just 360'd it and just kind of came back to what we know and appreciate the Bray Wyatt character to be. So I'm very intrigued, and I couldn't even fathom to tell you what the creative direction is right now with him. I'm just going to watch and be like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
And the QR codes aren't finished yet.
No, definitely not. The last one kind of was a psych valve.
Yeah, but I mean, still, it's something to engage the audience. So I mean, it's working. People are intrigued by it. They want to know more about it. So great. I mean, it's great to keep promoting in this way. There's a lot of mystery and intrigue around Bray Wyatt, and until he has that first match, who knows what we're going to get to see.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting because we have no idea kind of what's next. It's just like the QR codes. We have no idea what's coming out next. So eventually he's going to have that match. Eventually he's going to have that feud with someone. And I'm just curious on who that is going to be. Like, I just think it's such a good topic for debate, because trying to just figure out where this direction for Bray Wyatt's going, I think, is a task in itself, let alone trying to actually find the destination.
Yeah. Speaking of what's coming out, Parrish, I think this would be a good point in this conversation.
Well, I mean, I do think we got some
breaking news. Yeah, that's breaking news.
Forewarning. Yes, I'm going to find an excuse to play that every week.
That's right. That's the new
thing.
But
I mean, as we told you guys at the beginning, we are launching OLE Podcast, our local establishment, starting tomorrow. However, just because we start tomorrow does not mean we only have one show coming up. No, we got an actual list of stuff, and we're going to show it to you. If, Bobby, you want to talk about these as we're going on.
To me, like a voice inside my head. It's like a fight that I cannot win. I'm falling, frustrated, intoxicated. I know I'm losing myself. I can't take it anymore. But I'm not done. I'm not done. I won't give up until the end. But I won't fall. I'll stand away.
Yeah, and speaking of QR codes, we got them all over the place there because we want you to follow and check us out on all the different social medias, as well as checking out our YouTube and Twitch channels as we launch tomorrow night. As you saw by the graphic and a little further explanation, tomorrow, Paramindful, for everything spooky ooky-ish, as they say, they'll put a spell on you. So check out Paramindful debuting tomorrow on OLE Podcast establishment. Tuesday, we got the Tuesday night lineup to beat all Tuesday night lineups because we got Turnbuckle Talk. Mr. Carl Carafell going to bring in the Turnbuckle Talk to OLE Podcast this week for the very first time. So stay tuned for that on Tuesday. And right after that, Mr. Chris Parrish, I believe you and Astrid have a wonderful NXT conversation in mind for the first OLE podcast broadcast of taking over on Tuesday night. On Wednesday, we got Andre giving us that New Japan Pro Wrestling Ruvo. Sorry, I am bad with pronunciations, but you saw it on the screen, and go back and check it out because our main man Andre there, he's going to be giving us that review on OLE podcast on Wednesday night. Thursday, hold on. Piro Riso. There we go. Yeah. Thank you, Mel. Thank you for the correction.
We might not be the Blade, but we're butchering that right now.
That's right. But then Thursday night you could join myself and Papa Smokes for the latest edition of Fusion, which this week we are going to have another member of the Beaumaye Fight Club joining us, Mr. Thomas. It's going to be a fun time. Not on OLE, but make sure after Fusion that you go check out Making an Impact with Cody and Astrid. Friday on OLE Impact, you saw Ring Respect Radio with myself and Papa Smokes. We're going to be bringing that. And Sunday, myself, Chris Parrish, we're bringing Busting Out right to OLE Podcast, so you're going to be able to check that out, as well as a few other various shows that are yet to debut. Again, myself and Carl are going to be having Beats and Beatdowns coming out. We know Ed's going to be coming out with the big debut of Variant Wrestling Realities. Looking forward to that one as well, too. That is going to be a great big show for us. I've got another one coming out as well, too, where we're going to be talking about Prairie Pro Wrestling stuff. So a lot of things to look out for. And again, lots more in the works as well, too, you guys. That's just the tip of the iceberg for us at OLE Podcast. And we want you to do us a big favor. Head on over, follow us on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, do all those great things. We want to push this to the moon and help out all these wonderful people that are contributing great content on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and if I think it's going to be down the road, we're going to probably within maybe somewhat today. If you follow our social medias, we will definitely put an image of those QR codes on our social medias. I think that is the right thing to do. if we want to direct you to that. But no, we very much appreciate not only the support, the love with that, because again, this is what OLE is going to be. It's number one, and that is support. All the good people that have a passion to do this, whether it's, like you said, whether it's pro wrestling, whether it's the spooky yuki-ish type stuff, or even if it's, you, Bobby, kind of reviewing an album, so to speak. Everything like that, we support everyone from different backgrounds. So.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. And again, like we say, support. It's called our local establishment for a reason, because not just for us who are going to be on the screen, it's also going to be for you guys in the comment section. So make sure that anytime we go with our live shows, make sure to get there, be interactive, tell people about it, to also be interactive and let them know about everything. At the same time, we should give you all the heads up that some of the shows will be pre-taped. Some of them will go live. So you'll be able to enjoy some stuff where the contributors on screen will be interactive, like Parrish and I are on Sundays. Some will be pre-taped, but that doesn't mean we don't want you to go and show every bit of love and support for those shows too, because a lot of the time, the creators of those shows will probably pop in to the chat and be able to have a conversation with you as well too. So show all the love and support. We appreciate everything you've done for us over the past several weeks as we have kind of got this in the works and everything like that. And we're looking forward to this wonderful new opportunity to really grow this entire establishment with every single one of you. So.
All right. And I think that kind of almost wraps it up for this week of busting.
I would say
out.
so.
So we'll go with the plugs right now, and I'm going to try to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to try to raid someone if humanly possible.
Cool.
Bobby, I'm going to just throw this up. Where can we find you? And, of course, what do you have coming up?
Well, apparently you can find me on OLE Podcast. So I see her. So as you heard, all the shows I got coming out on OLE Podcast this coming week, you'll be able to find me there. You're going to be able to continue to find me doing gaming and stuff like that over on my Twitch channel, _Bobby Munson. So yeah, catch me at any of those two places. Catch me on OLE Podcast. Continue to follow Ring Respect Radio / the Video Bros Network over on YouTube. And also check me out as part of the commentary team for Prairie Pro Wrestling every single Saturday. We've been releasing new matches. Match from yesterday happens to be Levi Knight, All Night Levi Knight taking on Zoe Sager. That one is kicking some major ass with the views already. We're pushing 400 views in under 24 hours. So keep the hype train going for Prairie Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, and as for me, you can follow me on the Twitter at Chris Parrish, Instagram, Chris.Parrish, Twitch at the Chris Parrish. I know with a lot of this stuff moving to OLE, you might ask, hey, what am I planning on doing with my Twitch? I'm going to still try to do things. I mean, I got a nice little N64 over here that maybe I will try to play some games on there down the road. I might even, just come on in and shoot the shit with people, maybe. So, who knows? Right now, my focus is on OLE and not my stuff, but I do plan on using my Twitch down the road as well. Bobby, any last words for you as I find somebody to raid?
No, just as always, we continue to appreciate all the support and love that you guys have shown us here, and continue to show the support to all the other contributors that we have had the pleasure of working with. And outside of that, just hope everybody is enjoying their professional wrestling these days, and look forward to all the great new shows. In fact, I think we're recording one or something right away here, Parrish, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we don't stop the work. That's
right.
That's the BrunchBuster way, right? We don't stop the work. So, I'm gonna raid a guy by the name of Heel Kevin. He is doing some stuff on the football right now as we speak, but he is definitely someone that I know likes the wrestling as well. He is a very animated human being. So go out, shout out, say a hi as you can, and help us. He is definitely, I just want to let everyone know that his channel is intended for mature audiences. So just giving you guys the forewarning.
In case your kids were watching that.
Yep. So I just want to let everybody know. So that is where you're going to go to down the road. That is where I'm directing the raid. So, go say hi. So I think we are, I'm going to start the raid now. So hopefully you guys are going in and say hi. Definitely appreciate it. And Ed is saying the VWR recording coming soon. So I think that does it for us. And I think the raid is going to be in about a minute, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah. So Bobby, I just want to say thank you. And we're taking this train to a different destination. We're going to go off the rails, but we're going to do it in our local establishment. Very excited to see, very excited to take this ride with every one of you. And Bobby, let's go have some fun.
Let's do it.
All right. See you guys next week. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We love you all. We can't wait to do this again next week. Bye.
You can feel the root shaking as you're running out of breath. If you're ready to rock, we'll just let it fall. Are you ready now? Are you ready to move? Let's just move.